All right, let's dive in. Back again for another deep dive. And this time, we're tackling a mystery that I think just about everyone finds fascinating, the JFK assassination. We've got a whole stack of articles here from the third decade.
Oh yeah, the third decade, a whole journal dedicated to JFK assassination research.
And I got to tell you, some of this stuff is going to make you really rethink what you thought you knew about this whole event.
You know, what's really interesting about this whole thing is it's not just a tragic event, it's a puzzle. And there are all these pieces that just don't quite seem to fit.
Right, and that's what makes it so fascinating.
And the third decade, they really dive headfirst into all these inconsistencies. They challenge the official story with all these different insights from researchers, witnesses, people who just refuse to accept those simple answers.
Okay, so let's start by unpacking that commonly accepted story. The lone gunman, Lee Harvey Oswald, firing from the Texas School Book Depository. Simple, right?
Well, on the surface, yeah, it seems that way. But these articles we're going to look at today, they reveal some serious cracks in that narrative. You know, take Fred Cook, for example.
Okay.
He was an investigative journalist, and initially he actually believed the Warren Report, the official investigation. But as he started to dig deeper, he started noticing some pretty glaring problems.
I see.
And he really details all these doubts in his article, The Truth is Too Terrible.
The truth is too terrible.
Yeah.
So what kind of things was he finding that made him question the official story?
Well, one of the things that really tripped him up was the eyewitness testimony of this guy, Howard Brennan.
All right.
Brennan claimed that he saw Oswald in that sixth floor window of the book depository just moments after the shooting.
Right, right.
But the circumstances were so strange, you know? A partially open window, a darkened room, over 100 feet away. It just seemed impossible.
Yeah, how could anyone be that certain?
Exactly. And Cook actually tested this himself. He tried to identify people in similar windows, and he just couldn't do it. So it raises some really serious questions about the reliability of Brennan's account.
So the eyewitness testimony is already shaky.
Yeah. And Cook didn't stop there. He meticulously analyzed the Zapruder film.
Oh yeah, that grainy footage that everybody's seen a million times.
Exactly. In Cook's analysis, it revealed a major discrepancy.
Bro.
The timing of the shots and Governor Connolly's reactions just didn't line up with that single bullet theory.
You mean the idea that one bullet wounded both Kennedy and Connolly?
Exactly.
Right.
And Cook's findings suggest that Connolly actually reacted way too late to have been hit by that same bullet.
Okay, so we're already seeing the official story start to unravel a bit. And it gets even wilder when we look at Robert Sibley's article, The Mysterious Vanishing Rifle.
Yeah.
This one really throws a curveball.
Yeah, this article focuses on this rifle that was found on the roof of the Texas School Book Depository right after the assassination. But the catch is, it wasn't Oswald's rifle.
Hold on, 2 rifles. Where did this second rifle come from?
That's the million-dollar question. And it gets even more intriguing because we have visual evidence. This photographer, Ernest Charles Mentasana, he actually filmed the police examining this mysterious rifle on the roof. And his footage, it ended up in this film called President Kennedy's Final Hour.
So there's actual film of this other rifle.
Phew.
Gone. No explanation.
Yeah.
No mention in any of the official reports. It's like it never existed.
That's creepy.
Yeah. And to make things even creepier, a reporter who actually corroborated the existence of this second rifle, a guy named Waldo Thayer,
Okay.
he disappeared years later.
Okay, now I'm starting to get chills. A mysterious rifle appears and then disappears, and then a witness vanishes. It's like something out of a spy thriller.
It really is, and it raises some crucial questions, right? If this second rifle was there, who did it belong to? What role, if any, did it play in the assassination? And why was its existence completely ignored by the official investigation?
Yeah, the implications are pretty unsettling.
To say the least. It makes you wonder if there was a deliberate effort to suppress any evidence that just didn't fit that lone gunman narrative. And speaking of evidence that doesn't quite add up, let's talk about those backyard photos and this couple named Michael and Ruth Payne.
Ah, the Paynes. They were friends of Oswald and his wife, Marina. And those infamous backyard photos, the ones showing Oswald holding the rifle, they were found in the Paynes' garage. And those photos, I mean, they were considered damning evidence against Oswald, but their story has some curious twists and turns.
Like what? What's so strange about the Paynes?
Well, for starters, Michael Payne claimed that he could actually pinpoint the exact spot where those photos were taken based on just one visit to the Oswald's backyard.
Wait, seriously? Just from one visit? I can barely remember what my own backyard looks like.
Exactly. It seems incredibly far-fetched. And then there's Ruth Payne. Upon learning about the photos, she decided to throw away these radical newspapers that were just Oswald.
Interesting. So this woman, who was otherwise so meticulous about documenting Oswald's activities, suddenly decides to just discard potentially incriminating evidence.
It's a strange move, right? And it really makes you wonder, did the Paynes know more than they were letting on? Were they trying to protect Oswald, or were they trying to frame him?
It's hard to say for sure, but their actions definitely raise some red flags.
Yeah, for sure.
And just to add another layer of mystery to this whole thing, there's an account from Priscilla McMillan, who claims that Marina, Oswald's wife, actually burned some backyard photos that she had found, possibly under pressure from the FBI.
So we've got potentially manipulated evidence, witnesses disappearing, and just a whole lot of unanswered questions. The deeper you dig, the murkier this whole story becomes.
Yeah, it's a real rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And we've only just started digging.
One of the things that I think makes the third decade so fascinating is that it really doesn't shy away from the controversial stuff.
Yeah, like what do you mean?
But like, for instance, it dives into the possibility that some of the evidence that pointed to Oswald as being like an FBI informant,
Right.
that it was actually planted.
Whoa, hold on. Planted.
Yeah.
You mean someone fabricated evidence to make it look like Oswald was working with the FBI? Why would they do that?
Well, Jerry Rose, in his article, Agent 179, The Making of a CIA Rumor, suggests that certain law enforcement officials in Dallas might have had a vested interest in diverting the FBI's attention away from themselves.
So it was a way to throw the FBI off the scent, make them think they already had their guys, so they wouldn't dig any deeper into what was really going on in Dallas.
Exactly.
Wow.
And the article points to 3 specific pieces of evidence that seem to kind of conveniently appear late in the game. Like, for example, there's the claim that Oswald was a paid undercover FBI agent.
Wow.
That's a big one.
Yeah, if that were true, I mean, it would completely change your understanding of Oswald's role in all of this. But something about the timing, it just feels off.
Exactly. This bombshell claim didn't actually surface until January 1964, like months after the assassination.
That's so strange.
It makes you wonder why someone would wait so long to reveal such crucial information.
Right. It's almost as if they were waiting for the initial shock to wear off and for people to just start accepting that lone gunman theory. And then, bam, they drop this new twist.
It really does seem that way. And then there's the claim that Oswald had Agent Hostie's name, address, and license plate number written in his notebook.
Wow, that does sound incriminating. like they were close, maybe even collaborating.
Right, but again, this information wasn't presented to the Warren Commission until January 1964.
Okay, so again, with that weird timing.
Exactly.
It's starting to feel like someone was intentionally trying to link Oswald to the FBI, even if it meant, fabricating or manipulating evidence.
It's a disturbing thought.
Yeah.
And then the third piece of evidence, it involves this alleged confrontation between Agent Hostie and Dallas police officer J.D. Tippit.
Tippit, the officer that Oswald supposedly shot.
Yes. And according to this account, Hostie admitted to Tippit that the FBI knew that Oswald was a threat to the president. But they didn't do anything to stop him.
Hold on. If that's true, I mean, the FBI had prior knowledge of Oswald's potential for violence, but they failed to act. That's a massive scandal.
It would be a huge deal. But there's a problem. This alleged confrontation, which again would have been devastating for the FBI, it wasn't mentioned until April 1964, during Dallas Police Chief Curry's testimony before the Warren Commission.
Again, the timing is just too convenient.
You're catching on.
Why wait so long to bring up such a serious accusation?
And it gets even more suspicious. When the commission investigated, they found that Tippit's memorandum describing this encounter, it wasn't actually filed until April 1964.
So are we saying that Tippit might have fabricated the whole story?
It's a possibility that the commission seriously considered. They were deeply troubled by the inconsistencies and the timing of all these revelations.
So it seems like someone was intentionally feeding the commission with information specifically designed to support the lone gunman narrative, even if it meant, stretching the truth or even just creating it altogether.
And that leads to a chilling question. If certain people within Dallas law enforcement were so eager to point the finger at Oswald and the FBI, what were they trying to hide?
It makes you wonder what else might have been fabricated or conveniently overlooked to protect those who were really involved. This is starting to feel like a massive cover-up.
It really does raise that possibility.
I mean, and remember that mysterious vanishing rifle from the Texas Schoolbook Depository roof, the one we talked about earlier. I mean, the lack of any official explanation for its presence and then its disappearance, It's incredibly suspicious.
Absolutely.
It's like they just hoped everyone would forget about it.
Right.
But we have the footage. People saw it. You can't just make a rifle disappear.
And it's not just the rifle, right? What happened to those witnesses who actually saw it? Mentasana, the photographer who filmed the rifle, vanished. Thayer, the reporter who corroborated its existence, disappeared too.
I mean, that's just too many coincidences. It's almost like someone wanted to silence anyone who could challenge the official story.
And don't forget, the FBI had access to Mentasana's film. They knew about the second rifle, but they chose to ignore it.
So we have missing rifles, missing witnesses, and just a mountain of unanswered questions. It's almost impossible to ignore the feeling that something much bigger is going on beneath the surface.
Absolutely. The JFK assassination is far more complex than the official narrative suggests. There are just too many loose ends, too many inconsistencies, too many unanswered questions to just accept that lone gunman theory without a healthy dose of skepticism.
And that's what's so captivating about diving into the third decade. It challenges us to think critically about the information that we're given and to question those stories that we've been told.
It really encourages us to dig deeper, to look beyond the surface, and to consider that possibility that the truth might be far more complicated and maybe even unsettling than we ever imagined.
Okay, so as we've been going through these articles from the third decade, one thing that keeps popping up is this suggestion that the weapons used in the assassination might be linked to the CIA. It's a pretty wild theory, but there's this one article that really goes down this rabbit hole. Frank Sinatra's assassination role, telling it like it wasn't, by Martin Shackelford.
Yeah, this article explores a really fascinating and kind of outlandish connection between Frank Sinatra and the JFK assassination.
Okay.
It all centers around this film that Sinatra starred in called Suddenly. It's a thriller, and it's actually about a plot to assassinate the president.
Oh, wow.
And the night before Kennedy was killed, Oswald allegedly watched this film.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. You know, a disturbed individual watches a movie about assassination. Sounds like the setup for a bad joke, but I'm guessing there's more to it than that.
Oh, there definitely is. The parallels between Sinatra's character in the film and Oswald's alleged actions, I mean, they're striking.
Fascinating.
Oh, yeah. They were both former servicemen. They both kind of felt lost and insignificant. And they both saw assassination as a path to notoriety.
Wow.
It's almost as if the film was like a blueprint for Oswald's actions.
So are we saying that Oswald was inspired by Sinatra's performance? That this movie somehow pushed him over the edge?
Well, it's a tempting theory, but there's a twist. According to television listings from that night, and this is confirmed by a broadcasting expert named Gary Mack, Suddenly wasn't actually aired.
Hold on. You're telling me the whole story about Oswald watching this film is completely made up. But why? I mean, why would someone do that?
Well, it's possible that it was done to, further solidify this image of Oswald as this lone, deranged townman who was obsessed with assassination. It's a detail that fits perfectly into the official narrative, even if it's totally false.
It's kind of chilling to think that someone would plant this false detail to try and manipulate how the public viewed the assassination. And it brings us back to that question of the CIA and those mysterious weapons.
Right, right. Well, the third decade actually explores another angle to all of this. In an article by Robert Sam Anson called The Missing Carbine,
Okay.
and it delves into the story of Robert O'Mara,
Okay.
a former CIA employee who claimed that back in 1963, he was ordered by his superiors to purchase 4 untraceable weapons.
Untraceable weapon. This is sounding more and more like a spy novel every month.
I know, right? So he bought these rifles from a surplus store in Maryland, paid in cash, and he was later reimbursed by the CIA. And he was told that these weapons were intended for CIA-backed Latin American groups who were operating in South America.
Okay, so the CIA is buying untraceable weapons, supposedly for operations in South America. But how does this tie into the JFK assassination?
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. Morrow later testified before Congress that those very same weapons could have been used in Dallas to kill Kennedy.
Whoa. Okay, now that is a bombshell. What kind of rifles were they? Were they anything like the one that Oswald allegedly used?
They were 7.65 millimeter Italian carbines, and according to firearms expert, they would have been far superior to Oswald's Mannlicher Carcano for an assassination.
How so?
Well, they had better range, better accuracy, more power, and they were much quieter.
Oh, wow. Okay. And what about their appearance? Did they match the description of that mystery rifle that vanished from the Texas school book depository roof?
That's the crazy part. Morrow's rifles, they had no scope, no sling, and a barrel that extended significantly beyond the stock. Sound familiar?
It's exactly like the rifle that Ernest Charles Mentasana filmed.
Oh, wow.
So are we suggesting that one of Morrow's untraceable CIA rifles could have actually been that mysterious weapon that was found on the roof?
It's definitely a real possibility. And it just adds yet another layer of complexity and intrigue to this whole event.
Okay, so let's just take a step back for a second and try and piece all of this together. We have these conflicting eyewitness accounts about Oswald. We have a mysteriously vanishing rifle that matches the description of CIA-purchased weapons. We have witnesses disappearing left and right. We have this totally fabricated Sinatra movie connection, and possibly even a disinformation campaign that was orchestrated by Dallas law enforcement. I mean, it's no wonder people have been obsessed with this case for decades.
The JFK assassination is this puzzle with so many missing pieces. There are just so many unanswered questions. And the third decade really highlights the incredible work of all these researchers who refuse to let this case just fade away. They continue to dig for the truth, they challenge the official narrative, and they force us to confront this unsettling possibility that what we've been told might not be the whole story.
It's a reminder that the pursuit of truth is rarely straightforward,
Yeah.
especially when you've got these powerful forces at play. But as we've seen in this deep dive, it's absolutely a pursuit that's worth undertaking.
It really is. And it's a reminder that we should never stop questioning, never stop searching for answers, and never just accept the official narrative without really looking at it with a critical eye.
Exactly.
The truth, as Fred Cook put it, might be too terrible for some to bear. But for those who seek it, the journey can be incredibly enlightening.
Well said. That's it for our deep dive into the JFK assassination. We hope you found it as fascinating and thought-provoking as we did. Keep questioning, keep searching, and never stop seeking the truth. Until next time.